Alpha.
Hey guys, it's Dimitri Cruz again, and I'm here to talk about a new lens that I've been using. It's the 2470 G Master version 2. That's this baby over here. And I've been using this for about 3 to 4 months now, and I must say I'm just loving it. It's the newer version to this old baby of mine, the 2470 G Master. It's also G Master. This is the old one. This old lens was out back in the year 2016, if I remember correctly, and this was released just this year, actually about February, March this year actually. So what's the main difference between the two lenses? Well, first of all, the biggest difference you're going to have is the fact that it's a smaller and lighter lens than the old predecessor. The new lens, if the older lens is about 880 grams and this comes to about 695 grams. You'd think it's a small amount, but when you put it on a camera, it actually does make a big difference for you. Overall, the lens wise, there's a few major changes that they've done. First thing you're going to find out is the aperture ring which they put out here, and which means you can choose your aperture and use on that. You can shoot on that particular aperture without using the camera functions. So it's also got a declicker and a clicker, which means you can go smoothly in and out of your aperture, or you can go click, 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 the way I like it. But to be very honest with you, the way I like it, I like to keep it on the A mode there. And there's a lovely little notch here with a lock on it. The lock really helps me to lock in that aperture and it doesn't move at all. And which means I use my camera to change the aperture of when I'm taking the pictures. So you get usually your two function buttons basically. You can use it for whatever function. You can program it on your camera to whatever function you want to use, and obviously you have your autofocus, manual focus switch. So one really good thing is the fact that both the lenses use the same filter, which means if you're using any filters on this one, you can still use it on this one, and the upgrade will be easier, which is the case for me. And one of the main reasons I actually went into mirrorless cameras is the fact that unlike a DSLR, it's much lighter. It lets me get in and get out. So usually when I'm at a wedding, I have a strap and I have one camera here and I have one hand camera here. And usually after about 12 hours of running around, your back's going to give in to you by having heavy cameras. But these babies are so light, and one of the main reasons I switched over into the Sony mirrorless range. So like I was saying, one of the main things is the fact that it's light, and also when you have your zoom out, it doesn't pop out as much as the other one does, which means it still feels nice and light. It balances off really well on your camera. One main thing that I find that when I'm shooting weddings and stuff is the fact that the sharpness is just mind-blowing. I mean, it's almost like a shot on a prime lens, and the bokeh, I'm not much of a bokeh chaser, but the bokeh on the lens is quite decent. It's very creamy at the background. I'm not into bokeh balls and stuff. It's really cool if you have it, but it's not going to give you a bokeh ball like a 400mm fix, but it gives some nice bokehs out there. So like I said, the minimum focus and distance on this lens is really close by, which means I use this lens to do some of my semi-macro work when I'm doing my details of the bride's rings, or if I'm doing details of the shoes and the details of the invitation card and stuff, that kind of stuff. I used to use a different lens. I used to use a macro lens just to get those details in, but this baby really lets me get really uptight and close with those guys, with those images, and I don't have to worry about changing lenses. So also one of the other thing is when I'm shooting my behind the scenes shots of my weddings, I use this. It's a very compact lens. I don't have to keep changing lenses, running out of the room, coming back in, running out of the room. I can stay in the room in a quiet area there. I just do my thing. I usually shoot on silent mode, sneak in behind, zoom in, get my shot, get out, get a wide shot, get back in, do some detail shots, get back out, get a wide shot. So it's a really versatile lens to have as a wedding photographer. I also do commercials and fashion and a little bit of other portraits and stuff. This is a really versatile lens. I don't have to take a whole bunch of lenses and go. It makes life easier for me when I just take one lens. I can shoot a full-length picture. I can shoot a portrait picture. If I had to take one lens for a wedding, this would be it. It lets me do everything I really need to do, from shooting a church, a wide angle of a church, shooting some details, shooting some down the aisle, or if I want to get into the Polaroid stuff, if I want to shoot like the details of the rings and the coconuts and other details there which I want to shoot on the Polaroid itself, it's a really good lens to have. So we're doing another little shoot here, and I'm going to cut into that. You're going to see me use this camera, use it on my strap, basically me running around, trying to organize the photo shoot, shooting with it, shooting long shots, shooting wide shots, try and get as much footage on this stuff, and then you'll see some of those images which I shot previously of some other weddings and some people, and also this particular photo shoot. Hope you enjoy it. So here we are on the editing process. I've loaded all my images into Lightroom, and we're going to have a quick look at all these images which we shot the other day. And I must say, this was a workshop. It wasn't an actual wedding, but some of the shots that we got, I was quite impressed with. If you guys are following my IG and TikTok channels, basically you probably see some really cool work out there. But let's get back into the main thing. Right, so first of all, right off the bat, I'm just shooting this with the 24-70. All these images which I've shot here are all from the 24-70 images. I'll just quickly pan through them. I've just done a quick selection of them. And you can see the versatility of the lens, right? So I've done like close-ups to wider shots, to long shots. And one thing that's kind of consistent in this whole thing is the fact that the sharpness is just nuts. It's just nuts. I mean, like, if this is like if I do 100% zoom, that's a 100% zoom, and that's like a 300% zoom. And mind you, I'm shooting at, let's just see what we are shooting at. We are shooting at f2.8, 1600, 70mm at 1/60th of a second. I may have not been very, very steady on my feet, just holding the camera over, but you can see the sharpness, and this is really good for a wedding album or any sort of wedding day. Okay, so let's just get into this shot over here, and this is at 100% zoom. Of course, I've shot on Sony a7R Mark IV, which means we have 60 megs of image quality to play around with, and you can just see what the quality of this image looks like. I mean, this is at 100%. And let's just go to 300%, just to say. I mean, look, you can actually see the kind of perspiration on the girl. We can see the pimples. We can see all little things, like little pieces of hair, little pieces of, material that's sticking out. All those lovely details which you need for a bridal, we have all there. I mean, obviously there's a lot of work for us to do afterwards, but that's okay. As long as we have the image quality, it's easy for us to do post-production, do any sort of editing on it. So as you can see, the sharpness is just nuts, and I'll just go into my develop settings, and if you notice, the sharpness is normal. I mean, I can pump the sharpness up some more. Obviously we don't want to get that sharp, but the sharpness is at normal. This is like 40%, which is like a standard thing which you get. All my other settings, I've kind of tweaked it the way I like, the way I see the image to be, the way I saw it in the viewfinder. That's how I see it. So even this shot against light, I mean, there's only, if I just revert this into a normal color, you can see the image is basically lit by the tungsten light or LED light that's on top, and there's a lot of backlight coming in, lots of greens coming in from the outside garden. But once you process it out, and we go back to previous, we can get that nice black and white feel about it. Once you process the image out, you get get a really nice image out there, and you can see how it nicely softens up, and the sharpness is still there. I mean, like I said, I'm shooting at 1600, and the image is still very, very sharp, and we don't have any fallout on the sharpness. Clarity of the image is quite good, considering we have virtually no front light. It's all backlit. It's a backlit image, and we still have enough detail on this. Even the contrast situation, if you go into a high contrast image, just check out the sharpness. I mean, it's almost too sharp. It's almost too sharp. But obviously, we're wedding photographers, fashion photographers. We know how to use the proper tools to kind of get the colors out, the skin texture out, and to soften things out. So I think we should be okay. Like I said, having more sharpness is obviously better than having less sharpness and more clarity, because then we can always soften it down, we can bring it down if you need to. But if you don't have the sharpness, if you don't have the clarity, then we are getting really substandard images, which your client actually might not know what it is, but then they'll be like, there's something wrong, we're not exactly there. So it's an amazing lens to work around with. The one other thing that I found in the 2470 new G Master version 2 is the fact that the distortion factor is quite low. I mean, so when I normally do my image processing, I always take the chromatic aberration and the lens profile correction. Even with the lens profile correction off, you can see that there is a very little distortion or very little barreling that happens. But once I switch on the profile correction, you can see the lines are nice and straight, the image is nice and sharp, and there's no issues that we have with it. So obviously I'm using Lightroom here, and with Lightroom, this is kind of what I use for most of my day in, day out wedding work. I find that it's the fastest to get things done. It really is. I'm really fast with it. The shortcuts are good. And once again, coming back into the image, I'm shooting on a 60 meg camera, which is the A7R4. The sharpness is nuts, and there's so much of detail that I can get in there. And even if I want to like kind of really crop the image in, well, I'm not going to do this, but I'll just show this to you guys. Even if I want to do a crop in to something like that, I still have a really good, very, very, very good usable image with like lots of detail on the sari, no blowouts, lots of nice detail coming in and out. Sharpness is nuts once again, like I said. And if I want to pump up the sharpness a little bit more, I can. If I don't want to, I can bring it down. So much of advantages shooting on this new 2470. So one other thing about this lens, which I really like, is the fact that you can really get in closer and do detailed shots. Here are a few images basically of like imitation cards and rings and stuff which I've shot, and these images will kind of show you the fact that you can get in really nice and deep and close up with those ones, and there's so much of detail in them and there's so much of clarity. I don't need a macro lens for my weddings anymore, so that's just amazing. So one other thing about this lens is the fact that there's a really nice bokeh out there. It's not as good as like having a prime lens, but check out this image. This image was shot with the 2470 obviously, and it's at full 2.8, and I'm shooting at 160th of a second. As you can see, I'm really close up on this girl's face, and you can see that the eyes are really sharp, but you can see the fall off on the eyelashes, to her earring, to the back of the veil and stuff. So it's really good. If you know how to use your lens, if you know how to position your lens, if you know how to get the maximum lighting and stuff on it, it can really be an advantageous lens for you guys. So here's another one of the same image of the same time. Once again, you can see the sharpness on the eye there, and you can see how it falls off on the hairline, and you can see how the back of the hair gets really nice and softened out. Mind you, these are not edited images, so they're as is. So you can see that I haven't done any sort of retouching on those guys. Just very basic retouching on Lightroom, basic stuff. I mean, check out this image of the earring. I mean, it's nice and crispy and sharp. You can see her fingers and nicely done nails and stuff. And then you can see how the focus of the image kind of really goes into the earring and not the rest of her body and the rest of her face, which kind of really helps you isolate those images, make sure that we don't have unnecessary stories going on when you want our main story happening. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please do let us know what you think about it. Please reach out to us on social media. Put a little comment on the link at the bottom. Make sure you subscribe to the CameraLK YouTube channel and give us a like. Follow me on Instagram on Dimitri Cruz, on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, everywhere. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a good one. See ya.